And we are live. Yo, what is up, everyone? This is OJ over here from PlayerEssence, and welcome to the new format that we have for PlayerEssence Cross Nintendo. This is going to be a live show, and we've got some amazing people here to join us today. So I'm going to go start with our new guest here, and that is Usman from the Usman channel. What is up, Usman?
Oh, 1 second, guys.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, yeah. What's up, man? I'm really excited to be here, talk about Nintendo, talk about E3. E3 is just starting tomorrow. My brother just reminded me of that, and I'm pumped to, get the discussion.
Yeah, we got Bethesda's show going up tomorrow, so that's going to be really fun. They're going to have a big show, like based on like the rumors that we've heard.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's going to be like so much cool stuff at Bethesda's conference. So pretty cool stuff. And right next to him, we have the man, the myth, the legend, John Turner. What's up, dude?
Hi guys, nice to see you all again.
Definitely. We had a lot of fun playing Smash Bros yesterday. John was he was tearing it up with with Little Mac, man. That was awesome. How do you feel about that win, dude?
Well, I gotta say that it was really a challenge to get through. I mean, I didn't think I was even going to win, period.
Mm-hmm.
I actually consider it a miracle that I ever actually won at all.
Whoa, you gotta have a little bit more confidence in yourself than that. But you know, that's definitely good, man. Definitely good. So
yeah, I think I might get a little better because of that.
Definitely. Maybe you should just stick with Little Mac. Stick with the Little Mac.
Very well then. I will.
All right, Usman, who do you use in Smash Bros? Real quick.
Oh, I'm Link all day. If you look at my Smash records, I pick Link like way too much for my own good.
Nice. You're a Link player, huh?
Yeah, and Toon Link. Any Link will do.
You know, the cool thing about 2Link is that 2Link has a lot of guaranteed like kills. Like you hit someone with the bomb, that's a kill. You know, you hit someone with the boomerang, they pop up in these certain ways, and you can just get kills with them. Yeah, 2Link's good too. They nerfed his back throw, but yeah, he's actually really good. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to move into the topics here. We've got about 3 main topics for you guys. The user questions. So if you do have a question, feel free to do so. Click on the bottom left-hand corner. That'll take you over to the Google Plus page. And in the top right, you'll be able to see the actual page where you can vote, or not vote, but you can put a question in, and we'll try to see if we can answer that if we have time. So let me open up that Q&A app just so everyone can see it here. All right, perfect. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get into the first topic here, and that is a September, or a possible September reveal for the Tokyo Game Show. And the Tokyo Game Show is running September 15th through September 18th. And then there was recently a survey that came up from the EGX Expo. That is in London. That is in the UK, and that is running from September 22nd to I think the 25th or something like that, a few days. And on that survey, it said that the Nintendo NX, as far as platforms looking forward to playing, are most anticipated. So that reveals that potentially that the Nintendo NX could be, I would probably not say revealed at the show, but could be playable at the show, could have some way or something to where the Nintendo NX is going to be there. There's already been rumors that the Nintendo NX and the PS4 NEO will be shown at the Tokyo Game Show. So Usman, I want to get your thoughts. Do you feel that the Nintendo NX could possibly be revealed at the Tokyo Game Show, with more coming at EGX, or how do you feel on that?
Yeah, with rumors pointing towards it being revealed at Tokyo Game Show, and now what you just said with the whole playable console at the event in London, I would say it is plausible now, especially with the reveal happening before, just a few days before, and then, I mean, I've never really seen something like that where a console gets revealed and then so soon at a different event it's playable. So, I mean, that kind of throws me off for it being revealed at the Tokyo Game Show, because if it's playable that soon and that early, just a few days later at a different event, I've just never seen something like that before, and I would probably expect either just the reveal at the Tokyo Game Show or that whole playable at that event in London just not happening and that being completely false.
Interesting. Yeah, definitely. It could be something to where that's just like false information, or maybe they just put that on there. Maybe Nintendo is still shuffling whether they're even going to show it. Some people were saying that before we get to John Turner's idea on that, some people were saying that, oh well, the EGX is too small for Nintendo to put the Nintendo NX there. But I would have to disagree, because in 2012, I I played the Wii U at something called, this was months before the Wii U came out, mind you guys.
Yeah.
All right, I played the Wii U at something called the Wii U Experience, and it was literally in like a back alley lot in Los Angeles. It was like in this cave, and there was like no media there, and Nintendo had a bunch of their reps, and it was just, it looked like they rented the place for like $25, no joke. Like it looked horrible. It smelled okay, but it looked horrible. And the funny thing is, you can go, it's not on this channel, but on my other channel, you can actually see that there if you type that in, like the Wii U Experience. I actually videotaped it. It was back in 2012, so that's 4 years ago now. So some people are saying, oh, well, it's too small for it to be at EGX. That's not the case. Nintendo could easily unveil it beforehand and have it at the EGX, which EGX is 10 times bigger than the thing that I played it at.
On that same topic of it being revealed at Tokyo Game Show, I've heard a lot of people saying that they're kind of like missing that Western culture, North America, United States, Canada, and people are feeling like, why would they reveal a console that majority of people like in the Western culture are going to enjoy? Why would they reveal it in Japan, in Tokyo? They're just thinking that, you know, E3 is the best way to go, but of course they're not going to be at E3 2016, and you know.
Yeah, definitely. John, how do you feel about it?
Well, first of all, it is a little bit it's very disappointing that we haven't been able to see any information on NX at E3 because, you know, I agree with Usman. It would be an ideal time to launch the console. On the other hand, I do understand where Mr. Kimishima is coming from, how you would want to have the console launch with as much content as possible. I mean, come on, that was one of the major problems that we had with Wii U. When it was revealed, it wasn't really ready to go. But I'm all for a later reveal, just as long as they have content to do. That said, I really do hope that Nintendo has a lot of other plans to reveal the console at some other time. I mean, even earlier, before the EGX show, because they're going to need all the time they can get to hype this console. Because I don't want to see it turn out like Wii U all over again.
Yeah, you know, the one thing about Wii U is I don't necessarily think that there was a problem, like, because the Wii U was unveiled well before it released, you know, and hype wasn't the problem, it was the content, you know. So I think more than anything what it's going to be is the content. You could sit there and you can hype a console for 3 years if you want to. It doesn't matter the amount of hype going in. What matters is what you have. Like, content builds hype. That's the thing. Like, content builds hype. You can say that there's a new console coming, but if we don't see the games, if we don't see the functionality, if we don't see what it's going to do better than something else, then that hype will disappear. Like the Wii U. Like the Wii U, there was hype, right? And then the console came out, and it was slow. And it lacked games, and the ports were not as good. All of a sudden, the hype just went to nothing, you know, even though the system was very hyped beforehand and was revealed well before the launch, more than a year before it launches. So I'm not so keen necessarily on me saying, oh, they have to show it off now because it's coming out in March. I just want to know that, okay, make sure the content's ready, like you said, John. You know.
Yeah, on that exact same note, just recently we figured out the PlayStation 4 NEO is not going to be at E3. And the guy exactly said that he wants software, just like Nintendo said. A lot of people are realizing this. They need software to back up the hardware, because a lot of people are saying they don't play hardware, we play games, and they're really focusing on that a lot, which I'm perfectly fine with, to be honest.
Well, sure. I mean, you get a console in order to play video games. Yeah. I mean, you don't get a console just for the hell of it. You just get a console to play games, period. I mean,
they need the software.
Yeah, come on. You need a lot of content in order to play games.
Yeah, and we're actually going to get to that as far as the PS4K versus Nintendo NX and them not being at the show, you know, at E3, because people were skewering Nintendo for that, you know, but Sony said the same thing. All of a sudden, everybody's like, oh, okay.
And now Sony's in the hot seat, too?
Well, it's the thing about it, it's the smart decision. Like, why are you going to unveil something with no content? Nintendo did that with the Wii U. They brought it to E3 2011 with a bunch of concepts, a bunch of ideas, and a bunch of fake promises. And look what happened when the content was clearly not ready for the unveil. They completely botched the reveal of the Wii U. It was completely botched. You know, there was a lot of maybes, if, ands, buts. Possibly, okay, that looks like an interesting concept. Like seriously, like go back and watch that show. Like there is just so much stuff that never even came out or was turned into stupidity, like turned into like Game & Wario, like stuff like that. You know, it was just like nobody's excited to play that. That's not hyping your system. Like EA, you guys know the famous unprecedented support. You know, like that never materialized. That's why you don't announce your console that early, because you're still talking about business deals that aren't signed on the dotted line. You know, so you got to be very careful. You know, when that type of stuff happens.
Well, either way, I seriously do not want Nintendo to make the same mistakes they made with Wii U again.
They can afford that.
They do.
No, definitely can't afford that. So we're all in agreement that it could potentially happen, but there's definitely some asterisks by that. We need to wait and see, of course. So let's go ahead and we're going to move on to the next topic here, and that is the Legend of Zelda Wii U and Nintendo NX, I should say, and that is the rumors that came about that there are going to be 4 main dungeons. They're going to be, this is rumors, guys, so I'm not even going to say spoiler alert here because it's a rumor. 4 main dungeons, more than 100 mini dungeons to explore, a technology versus fantasy theme, and dynamic weather. So, how do you guys feel about that?
I think it sounds really terrific. I mean, I'm not too happy about the idea of there being only 4 main dungeons because I grew up on the original Legend of Zelda playing where there were like 9 dungeons in total. I mean, look at A Link to the Past. That had a total of 13 dungeons.
What if those dungeons are massive though?
That is. Yeah, you do have a point about that. I mean, Majora's Mask had 4 dungeons, but yet those dungeons were huge and complex.
And what if the mini dungeons are as big as some of the other dungeons in Zelda games?
That would actually be pretty interesting. I think it would be really cool to see Nintendo do something like that. I'd love to see the Zelda formula have something of a slight shake-up, but without changing a lot of what makes it so appealing.
100 mini dungeons. That is a lot of mini dungeons.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that is a ton of mini dungeons. So
this is going to be the biggest Zelda game ever, they said, in terms of just the environment too. So
this better be like the best Zelda game ever. You delayed it for like how many years at this point? Like, you know, some people, like when I made my video about me not being like super hyped about E3 because like Zelda, because like look guys, Zelda, and I'll just say this again, Zelda was announced in 2014. It was supposed to be out in 2015, got delayed. It's supposed to be out in 2016. Got delayed. Now we're waiting. This is the 3rd year, basically, of waiting on this game. Like, look, I'm not that thirsty. Like, I want to play the game and all, but I'm not going to sit here. And how many years are you expecting me to be hyped? At this point, I just want the game in my house. I want the game.
To play devil's advocate, however. To play devil's advocate, however, this isn't the first time I've seen Nintendo make such empty promises about Zelda. I mean, remember how we thought Zelda Twilight Princess was going to hit at the end of 2004, and then it got delayed to 2005 and 2006, and then it eventually got to go from GameCube only to Wii. I'm not the least bit surprised that the same thing happened to this newest one, but it better be worth all the hype.
It definitely better be worth the hype. So let's Usman, I want to get your opinion on the technology versus fantasy theme. Do you think that's a good theme?
Honestly, if they go with the technology theme, that's what a lot of people are doing. You see games like Call of Duty, you see games like Horizon Zero Dawn coming in. A lot of people are going towards that technology theme. But I mean, Zelda, it looks like an anime. Let's just get that out of the way. It looks like an anime, and I think the fantasy theme fits perfectly with a game like Zelda. It's something we're used to. And again, Nintendo tries to innovate themselves sometimes to a fault, and I don't think that they need to really stray away from what Zelda's built off of. I know they're just going with that Western culture and trying to, you know, keep it away from things we've seen before. But when it comes to fantasy genre or like technological genre, I think they should stick with the fantasy, more on the fantasy end.
Yeah. Definitely. John?
I don't see anything particularly wrong with mixing in technology with the fantasy because, you know, some fantasy games that I've played, like, Final Fantasy VI, if you remember, that game was a fantasy, but it had technological aspects mixed into it too. And, well, look at Chrono Trigger. That too was a fantasy game that mixed in technology. So I don't think the idea of mixing technology with fantasy is altogether a bad thing. I think it could actually turn out to be a pretty cool thing. The only thing that I'm concerned about is how well it'll be implemented because there are 2 ways to do the technology in a fantasy thing. You can do it in a way that seems really, really cool and interesting, or you could do it in a way that just feels like, what? This is so confusing. And I'm only hoping that this newest Zelda goes for something interesting if they're going to really go with technology because, like I said, it's a matter about what you do with the theme, not necessarily having it there for the heck of it.
Yeah, definitely. I have to agree. Like, I'm actually cool with the technology versus fantasy theme, but the only thing that I'm a little worried about is more just how are they going to implement the technology theme? Because like if that is true, when you put the technology versus fantasy theme, that comes with a lot of other stuff. People are thinking, okay, well, what type of technological weapons are we going to have? What type of technological upgrades are we going to have? Is Nintendo going to go that in depth? Because as you guys know, Zelda is not that type of game. You know, even though I would love for it to be that type of game where they kind of put more elements like RPG. They kind of incorporate more of the stuff that they did in Skyward Sword, but kind of broaden it a bit. They have some stuff in like Link Between Worlds. But they've never really went more of like that Skyrim or Fallout type upgrading and things like that. So when you put the technology versus fantasy and like you see the weapons that are in like even the launch trailer, not the launch trailer, but the reveal trailer, you're thinking, oh, okay, well, you're going to be able to craft or create. So hopefully it can live up to that. Hopefully they do that in the game. As far as the dynamic weather, I just thought this would be something. Wouldn't that be like a given that it would have dynamic weather at this point?
Of course.
Feel more lively.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. In Xenoblade Chronicles X, if you remember, and the original Xenoblade, we had a lot of dynamic weather too. So that part, that's like a duh. Well, we should be having that, period. Because, I mean, Xenoblade Chronicles X, it made it look really, really seamless and very natural. And I think it would be very disappointing if Nintendo didn't decide to do something similar. I mean, come on, how cool would it be to traverse the overworld when it's raining or when it's snowing?
I do have one more thing to add, is that the voice acting. So there is a rumor that there is voice acting and male and female, which is, these ones are more older than the ones that we just talked about. But I want to get Usman's opinion. I'll go at the end and we'll talk to John. But I want to get your opinion, Usman. How do you feel about voice acting? And let's just say, for the sake of not going into just a depths of arguments here, let's just say voice acting not for Link and for everyone else. We're just going to make those guidelines right here and now. Not for Link, just for everyone else.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that. On my channel, I made a video when this first came out, when this rumor first came out. I'm perfectly fine with voice acting. I mean, of course, traditional Zelda is you just reading text, but I think it's time to move away from that. Voice acting will give it more of a live feel to it. And not having voice acting for Link, that was sort of a flip-flopping thing I was on. I was like, is that a bad thing? Is that a good thing? Should they have a definitive voice actor for this character to make it into a series that goes on, like Nathan Drake with Nolan North and stuff like that? But I'm fine with Link not having voice acting. Everyone else, that'd be A-okay. I'm tired of just reading text and saying, oh, Link does this, Link does that, and I'm fine with voice acting, bottom line.
Yeah. John?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it would be an awesome thing if Legend of Zelda got into voice acting. Again, though, it matters on how well it's done, because you can have a lot of great actors. Xenoblade Chronicles X had a lot of really, really good actors, and I really enjoyed their performances very much. It made the game really, really cool. But on the other hand, then you sometimes have games like the original Baten Kaitos and Arc Rise Fantasia, where the voice acting in that was absolutely awful, very, very wooden and robotic. So if there's to be voice acting, I want it to be very believable and very natural. And as far as Link talking goes, I actually would be okay with it. I mean, I can name several voice actors who I think would be pretty good fits for Link, maybe Vic, what's his name? The guy who did, Vic Mignogna, that's it, from Full Metal Alchemist, and maybe Aaron Dismuke, or maybe Bryce Papenbrook or something. I mean, I think it would be nice to, I think I would be okay with Link talking, just as long as they don't turn into another Metroid Other M.
I just said to keep Link out of this.
Sorry.
Because the problem with putting Link into this, it just opens up, not a can of worms, like a can of, I don't know, African mosquitoes. People just get ravaged. People get so upset.
Oh, dear. I'm really sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I'm just saying, I just don't want to, because I just want to say, hey, let's just say, Link, no voice acting. Everyone else. I mean, the mute protagonist has been done in many, many games. I mean, even dating back to when pre-voice acting. Chrono, he never talks,
And even in Xenoblade Chronicles X, where the hero barely says anything.
Yeah, and that pissed a lot of people off with Xenoblade Chronicles X because of how Xenoblade Chronicles was with Shulk. Shulk was such a strong main protagonist, and then you get this next one, and he's just kind of nodding his head or barely saying anything,
Well, I think the idea with that game is that you're supposed to be that character and form him as you go along.
To me, it was all about the gameplay, so, I mean, I could care less, but I understand. As far as my opinion on the whole voice acting thing, I mean, at this point, yeah, I wanted voice acting in Skyward Sword, I was like, is there a reason why we can't have everyone else talk and then Link not to? It's just shifting through all that text is just something like I didn't feel like doing. That's one thing like with like Metroid too, like you brought up. Metroid Other M was kind of like meh, but other than that, I mean the voice acting was okay. I thought some of it was fine, and even Metroid Prime 3 had some limited voice acting in there, which was good. It was fine. So I think Nintendo is definitely, if they want to modernize their games a little bit and appeal a little bit more to the West, they're definitely going to have to do voice acting with The Legend of Zelda. I think that has to happen at this point.
Well, sure, I'd love to see it happen. And as for whether Link can talk or stay silent, I'm good with it either way, to tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I do want to say, just because we have a good number of people in the live stream here, if you guys want to ask a question, because we will have a segment at the end for questions, please hit the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. You should see the go to the Google Plus chat page. It'll be like in yellow. And then click on the top right, you'll see the little boxes, and you can ask a question, because I see that we have no questions. We have quite a number of viewers. So if we don't have any questions, we'll just end this, because I did schedule the time. I mean, we have more topics, but I'll just end this a little early because I did anticipate questions. So guys, get those questions in, and we'll answer as many as we can in the time frame. I do want to keep these shows, because this is the first one, so I do want to keep these shows nice and constructive for you guys, where we don't go too much off, and you guys can get all the topics in, and we can get a nice number of questions in. So the next thing that we're going to move on to, let me pull up my page here, is, okay, PS4K versus Nintendo NX. So Super Metal Dave made a video on this one, and the fact that the fact that Sony confirmed 100%, Andrew House, the big man himself, has confirmed that the PS4 NEO, PS4K, whatever you feel like calling it, is indeed a thing. He called it a high-end PS4. He said it is indeed a thing, and that it will not be at E3 2016. And it is rumored to launch this year, but that's just a rumor. It could easily come next year, guys. So the thing about that I want to talk about this is kind of putting a showdown, potentially at Tokyo Game Show, like we talked about earlier, potentially at Tokyo Game Show for PS4K versus Nintendo NX. How do you guys feel about Sony? I know this is a Nintendo podcast, but it all kind of ties in together. It's the gaming industry. How do you guys feel about Sony's PS4K not being at E3? And do you feel that they're getting anywhere near as much flack as Nintendo got? Usman?
No. Okay, I literally made a video about this as soon as it was revealed. When Nintendo said they weren't going to be at E3, they got so much flack. A lot of people were saying, what the heck is Nintendo doing? They always make the wrong decisions. And when this NEO was revealed that it's not going to be at E3, no one blinked an eye. No one cared about that at all. People were just saying, okay, this is Sony. They probably know what they're doing. My point is that Sony usually gets the upper hand in things like this. And it not being at E3, I feel like it just didn't get enough flack for it. And time will tell. It depends on when the console is actually going to release, if it not being at E3 is a good decision. Because obviously, most likely it's going to come out before the next E3. And again, people are like, man, Nintendo is missing an E3 that they can dedicate to a new console. That's the dumbest move ever. Sony does this. You don't hear anything like that at all.
Yeah. John?
I do feel like that a lot of the backlash, that Nintendo gets, while partially well-deserved for making a lot of poor decisions this gen, I do think it's a little bit, I do think there is some sort of hypocrisy that Sony gets off easily when it comes to not showing their newest upgrade for PS4K, and I would like to think that there are two sides to this. But on one side, it gives Nintendo the advantage that maybe perhaps their NX will indeed impress, because if PS4K is really going to just be another slightly upgraded version of something that's on the market, well, it's not going to really be anything amazing. But on the other hand, there is a chance that Nintendo NX could turn out to be not at all what we were expecting to be in all the wrong ways, and so that would in turn make the PS4K look like the better option. I really don't want to cast aspersions right now. I'm only hoping that Nintendo makes all the right moves and doesn't get totally bashed by the competition all over again. But it's really hard to say. I mean, we don't even know what they're doing. A lot of what we've been hearing this year is just a roller coaster of rumors, all of which are, well, some might be believable, others are suspect. So, to be honest, I really don't know what to think.
I'm looking at this. It's like, when I made that video, where I said, I made a theory video where I was like, you know what, Nintendo, it's actually a good decision. You know why it's a good decision it's not going to be at E3? Because you know how many third-party games are going to be announced at E3? there are going to be tons of new third-party games announced at E3, and I can almost guarantee you that majority of those will not be for Nintendo NX because they're going to be coming out this year, early next year, and Nintendo's just not going to be able to. There's just not enough time for those developers, no matter what. Even if they got dev kits, there's just not enough time. It wasn't factored into their budgets. Whatever the case is, time to figure out the hardware. There is no reason for Nintendo to bring the system to E3 and get every single question. Is this for Nintendo NX? Is this for Nintendo NX? Is this for Nintendo NX? Is this coming to Nintendo NX? Because you guys know that's what's going to happen. Same thing happened at E3 with the Wii U. Is this for NX or is this for Wii U? No. 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 And it already casted a huge, on top of the whole confusion people had, and on top of Nintendo's crappy E3 2012 show, it just made everybody just say the Wii U's going to suck. You know, third-party games weren't being announced for it. They had a bunch of old ports, a bunch of empty promises. And Nintendo, there's no way in hell if you're Nintendo, you're saying, let's bring our system to where we know there's not going to be games coming, like, you know, games announced and coming for it. No way. You're going to get destroyed by the media. So what you need to do is you need to wait until the games that you know are ready and you know that are quality. Wait, announce all of them at the same time, and say, this is what we're going to have. We're going to have a strong lineup of games. We're going to have our own games with that. This is what we're going to do. And that way, the pressure's not as bad. And hopefully some of the hype of those new games dies down so it's not dragged into your system, you know? So...
Yeah, well, I do think they might have slightly more chances getting their friends from Japan on board, you know, like Square Enix and Namco and Capcom on board because, you know, they, after all, they're Japan-based. The Western ones I do think will be a much tougher shell to crack because, you know, a lot of them have lost a lot of faith in Nintendo based on their choices over the years.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, but that, like, okay, let's say Nintendo brings brings it to E3. Is Nintendo going to get? Is the NX going to get any of Bethesda's games, like the Evil Within 2?
No, definitely not.
It's not going to get any of those. So then you're stuck at the show saying, well, are you going to get Evil Within 2? You're going to get Fallout? You're going to get all these games? And Nintendo's just going to be like, no. And then it's the Wii U all over again. And
Nintendo can't afford to have that anymore. And on top of that, I don't think Bethesda has ever supported a Nintendo platform before.
I think
I don't know how they're going to convince them to get on board that.
Where's Waldo back in like 1990? But
that's it.
Yeah, it's been a while.
That's really bad.
It's been a while, man. Waldo's been missing for a while now. So, you have anything to add to that?
Gosh, I can't think of it.
Usman.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Can you hear us? Okay.
It's kind of cutting off right now.
Oh, it's cutting off. Okay.
1 second.
No problem.
Okay, what were you guys saying?
How do you feel about just like Bethesda's? Like, do you feel that it's a good idea that Nintendo didn't? Well, like now looking back, do you feel it's a good idea that Nintendo doesn't have the NX at E3?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's coming out in March. Revealing a console 11 months early might not even be the right thing. But first of all, they revealed this console a few years, I think, early, just even teasing us that a Nintendo NX is coming. I think it did really bad for the Wii U, first of all. It not being at E3, I think it's the right decision with Xbox. Just give Xbox and Sony the spotlight. Let them do what they do. Focus on Zelda. Focus on getting the best out of the Wii U that you can possibly get. And then another time, this is what I always preach on my channel. I think Sony did the right thing by revealing the PlayStation 4 at its own conference where all gamers had their eyes on Sony. I think Nintendo needs to do the same thing with the Direct, have all eyes on them because this is Nintendo's chance. This is like a pitch to gamers to come back to Nintendo where gaming really all started. So I'm fine with them not being at E3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree about that, although I don't think a Direct is the best way to reach a lot of people because I think they're going to have to reach more than just those who watch the Directs. If you're going to sell this to a lot more customers, then you need more than Directs.
But anyone can watch the Direct, basically, so...
I mean, Sony had their own PlayStation Experience, thing, like how they unveiled and Microsoft had their own day. Those were basically Directs. I mean, if
the PlayStation Experience, Nintendo Direct, that's just their own names for their respective companies. It's kind of basically the same thing. It's where they have their own show. They're not worrying about anyone else. They're not worrying about any competition that's going to maybe air right after them. They're just doing their show, and they're talking to their fans and potential other people. So.
Oh, I see.
That's how the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 were revealed. They were both revealed at press conferences.
Yeah.
This is our day, and that's basically what a Nintendo Direct is. It's the same thing. Yeah, it's the same thing. So I mean, I wouldn't worry too much, John, about them if they did do it at a direct. I mean, it might be Tokyo Game Show, but then again, if it is Tokyo Game Show, you do have to compete with Sony. You do have to compete with Sony, and there is sometimes media members, they go to these things and they have to cover so much. Sometimes they don't get much sleep, and you know what I'm saying. They might miss it. They might miss a few details here and there. You know, we saw that happen with Wii U. You know. We saw that happen with you. And Dragon Slayer Guts says, "Are you guys taking questions?" Yes, we're taking questions. If you have a question, please put it in the chat. Not in the chat. Please put it in the Google Plus question page by clicking on your page to the bottom left-hand corner, seeing that, and then heading over to the Google Plus page, and you can put that there, and we'll answer. We only have 2 questions, so yeah, definitely get those questions in because I put some time aside. So it seems like we all have got our opinions and thoughts about that as far as that goes.
Yeah.
I do want to get you guys' opinions real quick on some of the news that's been happening during the week, just because, I mean, it's been quiet for Nintendo. There obviously hasn't been much that has really went up really at all for Nintendo. I mean, there's just been a lot of, like, third-party stuff that has been going up and a lot of things that affect third-party companies and Microsoft and Sony. But I do want to talk about a game that was on the Wii U. We'll get this in as an extra topic. It's Watch Dogs, and Watch Dogs 2 was revealed, and it's funny because I was going to make a video on this, but I don't necessarily want to base this conversation around that. But how do you guys feel? I do want to just talk about this. How do you guys feel about Ubisoft in general? Because they were a big supporter of the Wii U at first, but then it kind of just, kind of faded off. So how do you guys feel about Nintendo's chances with the NX with Ubisoft and potentially getting a game like a Watch Dogs 2 or some type of ports from the Ubisoft games?
I personally think that Ubisoft is kind of there to support Nintendo. I mean, they released Watch Dogs on PS3 and the Xbox 360, and although it didn't come out right away on the Wii U, they still put in that time, they still put in that effort to put it out on the Wii U. We had games like Assassin's Creed on the Wii U, and it wasn't really until other companies started, moving away from the Wii U and third-party support that Ubisoft decided to, let's jump on this. I don't think we should be supporting these guys if we're the only, sort of third-party supporter out here. But I honestly think Ubisoft will be one of the easier companies for Nintendo to regain back on, basically back onto supporting them for the Nintendo NX.
Yeah, I have to agree with you about Ubisoft. I mean, I have mixed feelings about Ubisoft as a company, but you're right. They were one of the few Westerns who stayed on board the Wii U at a time when everybody else was beginning to reconsider. I mean, Activision was reconsidering. EA was basically disappearing along just as quickly as they came, and we didn't even hear anything from Take-Two. So I think as far as the Western guys go, if you're going to get people on board, start with Ubisoft first. Mm-hmm. Now that said, do I think Watch Dogs 2 might be on the NX? I really find that very difficult to believe because if you remember, Watch Dogs Wii U did very poorly, both in sales performance and as a game in general on the Wii U. I'm embarrassed to admit that I played the Wii U version and it was a disaster. The frame rate was very choppy, the graphics seemed very rough, but what really pissed me off about it was that the audio was off, like about 2 seconds behind. It made it look like a bad Hong Kong movie, and it was really embarrassing. So I really don't know if Watch Dogs 2 has a chance of being on NX or not. So I'm not really sure if it's going to happen or not. But on the flip side, if Nintendo were to miss out on a game like this again, then the situation will be no better than Wii U. And I really don't want to see that happen.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, it's going to be imperative for Nintendo because at this point in the game, as far as the industry goes, games come out all the time, So if Nintendo doesn't get some of the games that came out before NX, whatever, you just kind of throw your hands up, whatever. But they need to make sure that they get all the games from March and on. It can't be, you missed, let's just say Doom comes out in April, the next Doom game comes out in April. It's not, but I'm just saying, if that comes out in April and then the next Mirror's Edge, let's just say another Mirror's Edge comes out a little bit after that, then there's another Overwatch. If Nintendo doesn't get 2 of them but gets 1, that's a problem. You can't have it to where, sometimes you get some, sometimes you don't. If that type of stuff happens when Nintendo releases the NX, they're gonna have issues unless their first party is absolutely superb and it comes out very frequently, as in 1 game a month frequently.
Right, I totally agree about that.
Usman, do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, with third-party games like that, exactly what you just said, OJ. when a third-party game like that gets announced, it's really a sad thing for Nintendo fans. Like, if they have to usually like go on the internet, look up, is this going to come to a Nintendo console? It's almost a given all the time. A third-party game coming to PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Nintendo needs to be in that mix as well. It can't be, here, this is a new third-party game, a sequel, Overwatch 2, and then Nintendo fans have to scramble. Is this thing coming to Nintendo? Whereas other people on Sony and Xbox, they're like, okay, this game's coming out, I'm pumped for it. Nintendo needs to lock down that third party, and it can't be here or there, or let's pick this one, let's not take this one. That's just not going to work out for them. People will probably end up leaving if it's like that.
Yeah, seriously. It was one of the things that frustrated me so badly about being a Wii U owner. It was heartbreaking seeing a lot of third-party games miss out on the Wii U one after another. It was so disappointing to me.
What I hated about it the most was, like, as a journalist, and as me even being more of a journalist back then than I am now, and at this point, I think I'm more of a YouTuber. But back then, like, it would be like, I'm looking up information, I'm trying to go through my context. Is this game going to be Wii U? People asking me, emailing me, is this coming to Wii U? When's this coming to Wii U? Me emailing companies, me getting the standard response, we'll email you back, or right now we don't have a comment, no comment. It was frustrating as hell as being a Nintendo fan, and just having to just do that as just from a purely work standpoint. I can imagine from a consumer who's a Nintendo fan and wants to see what games are coming, and Nintendo has these weird rules, and with these third-party companies, you know, not knowing when games are going to be coming. Like Call of Duty Ghosts was the latest example that I can think of, which was a couple years ago, where Nintendo fans didn't know if this game was even coming. And when you ask Activision, they're like, ask Nintendo. And then Nintendo's like, we have nothing to announce. And it's like, and then they announce it later, months apart from the PS4 and Xbox One versions, and we're like, wait, why? And it launched day and date with the other versions of the game. So it was just like, that type of stuff has to go. Like, I can't stand that crap, you know?
Yeah, me neither. I mean, I'll never forget either the revelation of Final Fantasy 15 or Kingdom Hearts 3. It was heartbreaking that neither game made it to the Wii U, and it would be even more disappointing if we never got to play those two games on NX.
I do want to just mention one more thing just before we get, because we were starting to get questions that line up, so I do want to get you guys' opinion on this. Sorry to cut you off, John. But I think the perception, before we get into the questions, what do you guys feel about the perception of Nintendo? I feel that Nintendo's perception has been negatively affected by some of the software that has been tagged along with the Wii brand, so the minigame collections, the 2D platformers. And, like, you know, you guys heard the guy from Software, when asked, like, hey, is Dark Souls 2 coming to the Wii U? He burst out in laughter. This is a Japanese developer, by the way. I think Miyazaki. He burst out in laughter. So what does that tell me? That tells me that the perception of Nintendo, the Wii name, the brand, is shattered, because you got a developer laughing in the face of his game, which is perceived as a hardcore game, for Nintendo fans. Like, that made me upset. Like, I was like, okay, so what? We're not good enough to play your games, you know? But then again, now looking back at it, I'm like, well, it's the perception of Nintendo, the perception of kiddie, casual, which necessarily isn't 100% the truth, but these are the type of games that Nintendo has pushed and said, yes, this is for everyone. Everyone can play it, you know. And how do you feel about that, Usman? Do you feel that Nintendo needs to change their perception with the NX as far as that goes?
They do have a really bad perception. People usually perceive Nintendo as a negative console right now because of everything that's going on, horrible sales, no third-party support. And like you said with those mini-games, Nintendo can only push out so many exclusive titles, Mario games and stuff like that. Those mini-games are sort of their only thing to fill in the gaps between their exclusives that are coming out. They're basically the third-party games. The mini games are there basically to fill in that gap, that void of third-party games. And honestly, I feel bad for Nintendo because they honestly have no choice. Those mini games, if you play it or not, it's the only option Nintendo has at this point.
Mm-hmm. John?
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like that the perception of Nintendo is at a complete all-time low, because as successful as the Wii was, it also started a negative stigma that Nintendo was basically moving away from what made them so iconic in the past, and unfortunately, that perception just kept on going big time with Wii U. I mean, the moment the name was announced, I feel like that the system was basically going to get trouble from the start. I mean, come on, who would want to buy another Nintendo system just to get mini games and just another Mario game? I mean, that worked fine that may have worked fine at one time, but it sure is not good anymore. And I don't want to see them do that again with NX.
And then that's the thing. I just don't want Nintendo's perception to be slaughtered in the media. Like the minute you release, like, you know, 2 minigame collections or 2 like 2D platformers, and you're not using your system's potential, because I think that's the biggest thing. Nintendo was not using the system's potential. You get that negative perception. You get people thinking, oh well, Nintendo's all kiddie. Even if the game is hard, like New Super Mario Bros. For the Wii U, I mean, there's some hard levels in that game, but like, you know, you're just running, you're jumping, cutesy atmosphere. So I would hope for the Nintendo NX that Nintendo really thinks long and hard as far as their perception goes. And I think the death of the minigame collection needs to happen. Like, I don't think we need to see anything other than Mario Party, to be honest. Like, I think Mario Party should be that minigame collection, but if you're going to make a minigame collection, can you at least try? I think Nintendo doesn't even try with Mario Party. I think it's really cookie cutter. Like, they say, okay, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to do. Online play? No. Any innovative features? No. Everything's just so standard. So if you are going to do a minigame collection, add some online play in there. Add some really cool online features in there. At least add some interactive features. Add like a question and answer type thing that you can do, like trivia, like Miiverse. Like, you need to innovate with them. Don't just make a minigame collection and say, look, this is what you can use our gimmick for. You know, like, they should innovate with those minigame collections. There should be online. There should be more. They should try. And that's my problem. I think that's my biggest problem, is that these minigame collections are just really quick cash grabs. And like, online isn't hard to do in 2012 whenever the Wii U came out. It's not hard. Anybody says online is hard, especially for a minigame collection, that's ridiculous. So I just wish that Nintendo, if you are going to do that, like Mario Party, if you're going to do more, please put a little bit more effort into them. I mean, Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival. I mean,
yeah, that was embarrassing.
Get the hell out of there with this crap. This is what you're giving to your fans? I mean, that's pitiful. In November, and like Mario Tennis Ultra Smash, like, that's not a minigame collection. It's a tennis game, but dude, you can't even play with your friends. Nintendo didn't even bother to take the time to make a friend lobby. Like, yo, like, like, you can't play with your friends in that game. Like, who does that?
And Xenoblade Chronicles X crushed both Mario Tennis and Amiibo Festival, big time.
Which you would never think of beforehand. You would never think that a Xenoblade would be able to outsell a game with Animal Crossing and Mario in its name. You would never think that would be happening, but that's how many fans revolted against these games. Like, you can't. I understand that, like Usman said, it's your only option, you know, at this point. But you can't give people this low of quality. Like, you can't. They can't do that with Nintendo NX because it destroys your perception. Like, people completely crapped on Wii U when those games were released, and yeah, you made some money, but was it worth? I'm not sure if it was worth it. Really, but
no, it wasn't.
Well, whatever. Let's go ahead. We're going to move on to this last 15 minutes or so. We are going to answer some questions, and I will let you guys. We'll alternate as far as who answers them. So the first question comes from my boy, and also fellow PE Arena member. Make sure you guys check out the description. I think it's in the description of this. It might be. Depending on where you're watching it, check out the Patreon page. We got PE Arena. My boy Tridon is part of that, so shout-outs to him. And here's his question. Do you think it's more likely that Nintendo will have their own event to reveal the Nintendo NX this summer? Then, let me open up the box here. Then have it and games playable at TGS and EGX. So, Usman, how do you feel? We talked about this a little bit. But
we already touched on this. Yeah. Based on what the rumors and everything what the rumors are pointing towards, I'm guessing a Tokyo Game Show reveal, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the best thing. In my opinion, I think, like I said earlier, which John didn't agree, but that's okay. The best thing for Nintendo, I think, is to hold their own Nintendo Direct. Not necessarily this summer, maybe at the end of summer, early September, but I don't think the Tokyo Game Show, I'm kind of against that now that I think about it. I don't think the Tokyo Game Show's the best way to reveal a console as important as the NX is to Nintendo. And to answer this question, I think a Direct would be better, but I don't do a game show.
Okay.
I personally believe that there might be a reveal sometime in the summer because I had heard a couple of rumors state that they might reveal it sometime after E3, either in the summer or maybe before the Tokyo Game Show, but at this point it's just rumors. But yeah, I do agree. It should be a good idea for Nintendo to do something like that, just as long as they can find a way to get people's attention and not just have it be restricted to whatever fan base they have left. That's my concern.
Mm-hmm. All right, next question comes from Tridon again, Tridon64. Other than Zelda, what games do you logically expect to launch with the NX on day one? Luigi's Mansion 3, Yooka-Laylee.
Good question.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I don't know, just because there's so little information on the Nintendo NX. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pass that question off. I mean, I would think personally, me like a Smash Bros. The
Yeah,
ports.
I feel like they're gonna have their fair share of some ports. Maybe Splatoon, even though no one's really talking about that. Smash should be a given, but really it's up in the air without knowing if they even have third-party support. We really don't know what the launch is gonna look like. But at least the good thing is the reason for it coming out in March, like they said, is that they want that strong launch lineup. So I guess we can be hopeful for some good games. But as consumers right now, not knowing anything, it's hard to answer that.
Yeah, right now we're at a dead end. I mean, I personally don't know what the launch lineup is going to be like, so I can't really say. Ideally, however, I wouldn't mind Final Fantasy 15 being among them. I think it would be heartbreaking if that game didn't make it to NX.
Definitely. All right, so we're going to move on to the next question here from Dragon Slayer Guts. Do you think that Nintendo takes too much time to release a game after the reveal? A lot of people I know would have bought a Wii U if Xenoblade X and Zelda Wii U released a lot sooner. Yes, Nintendo, and part of the reason why is Nintendo panicked. The Wii U was that when they revealed Xenoblade and when they revealed Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem or Tokyo Mirage Sessions, they revealed those games nearly 3 years in advance because they panicked, sales were down, and they wanted to show people this is like we do have games. And it's funny because there were many games that they could have talked about that were further along in development, but they picked the games that would bring the most hype for that Nintendo Direct back in 2013, and I think it backfired more than it helped. It helped for the hype, like right then and there, but as the years went along and people were like, "Where's the games? Where's the games? Where's the games?" Like, I don't think it really helped at all. So you guys go ahead. My phone's ringing, so you guys go ahead and answer. You guys can talk about that.
Yeah, I definitely agree about that. I personally feel like that they were taking way too long to
As
release.
of late, especially.
What?
As of late, they've been taking way too long. I don't know if they've really necessarily been doing that for a long time, but as of late with these games on the Wii U, and they've just been taking way too long releasing the game from the reveal.
I don't remember them pulling a similar stunt like that when they had Wii out. I think with Wii they toned that down because I remember the last time it happened, it was with Twilight Princess. It was hyped for who knows how many years, and so I think the hype for that title died somewhat when it came out, but it was still successful. I think they toned that down with Wii, but I think with Wii U they kind of overreacted a little bit. But I want them to be careful about how they choose to do that.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next question here then. And that is from Dragon Slayer Guts again. Do you think Nintendo can persuade the Wii U audience to switch over to the Nintendo NX after the droughts and Nintendo pulling off live support of the Wii U early? I think the people who bought Wii U's are hardcore Nintendo fans anyway, so yes. It's either a hardcore Nintendo fan or someone who bought the Wii U when there was a lot of software, so they're happy. You know, it's either like it's either or. I mean, I think there's a big group of Nintendo fans that absolutely hate the Wii U. They absolutely hate it and didn't buy it and said, I'm not buying this crap. You know, there's that group, okay? So Nintendo has to convince that group more than anything. And then you have the group of Nintendo fans that are going to buy the NX or that are going to buy the NX no matter what. And then you have maybe a few disgruntled fans. But I don't think Nintendo's going to have much problems selling the NX to people who already bought the Wii U if the lineup is much better. It's going to be getting the people who said F Wii U to jump on board, and the PS4 and Xbox Ones. It's gonna be harder getting those guys than anything. Usman?
Yeah, exactly what you said. Everyone who has the Wii U right now is probably gonna give that Nintendo NX a fair shot because think about it. Whoever has the Wii U right now is there for the exclusive Nintendo games. If the NX is the new big bad thing for Nintendo, they're gonna have to make that shift, play the new Nintendo games on that NX, and like OJ said, the big reveal, when they reveal it, that's like their pitch to the people who don't have a Nintendo anymore, people who gave up on Nintendo. That's basically their pitch to bring in other people from Sony, from Xbox, from PC to give Nintendo another shot, and that might be a little difficult. It all depends on things like third-party support, their online features like Party Chat coming back. They need to make that more modern like style console, and basically that's it.
Yeah.
That will ultimately depend upon how Nintendo decides to go about things. Truthfully, however, I don't think the fan base will be quite as eager to jump on board NX because we don't really know much information about it. If we get more information, yeah, I can see that happening. But as of right now, it's very difficult to predict. I've seen a couple of Nintendo fanboys who are basically fed up with Nintendo's practices and are considering quitting gaming because they're not happy with PS4 or Xbox One's offering either. I mean, if NX doesn't live up to my expectations, I'm going to have to get a PS4. I don't want to do that, but I might have to if it disappoints me. So, ultimately speaking for myself, I think they're going to face a real uphill battle with that. I don't think it's going to be as easy as some people think.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Well, that's definitely there as far as that's out there. I mean, it's one of those things to where Nintendo's just gonna have to fight like hell. They're gonna have to bring their A game. I don't think the Wii U was their A game. I think the Wii U was them saying the Wii's popular. Buy our next system. That's what.
Yeah,
the Wii
I
U
don't
was.
think they put a lot of thought into the Wii U at all. Though I'm surprised how good the Wii did, and then how bad the Wii U did. It's really shocking.
It's the worst. I think it might be one of the worst turnarounds in console history, modern console history. There's never been a console that has sold so much, then dropped off so bad, like in one generation to another, and that's the problem. When you constantly change up your theme, when you constantly change up controllers, when you constantly try to say this is different, you don't build consistency. Yeah, you don't build consistency. You don't build a normal fan base, and all of the casuals who say I want the newest fad, if they don't think that's the newest fad, where are they? They're playing this. You know, they're swiping all over stupid. They're playing Angry Birds and playing the newest stupid mobile game. So that's why I don't really like the fact that, and I said this back then, I don't like the fact that Nintendo went after these casuals because they will turn their back on you so fast. My sister was hardcore Wii, man. You should have seen her back in the day. She was like, yeah, she was the most hardcore Wii fan ever. And when I showed her Wii U, she looked at me and was like, I got a tablet, and like I got a tablet and walked off. And she never even touched the Wii U. So these casuals don't give a damn about Nintendo. They just cared about the fad that was in the papers, that was on TV. You know, they don't care, and that's what I don't like about those casual gamers. I'm like, these people were never Nintendo fans. Don't make a console for these people. Like,
I think another problem with the Wii U was that when they were prepping for it, as you said, the sales hype began to wear off. I think they got a little bit desperate and they were trying to put something quickly together so that they would at least rejuvenate their console sales. But I think it backfired spectacularly, especially when you think about how much Wii did and how much Wii is doing now. It's disappointing.
Yeah. Well, it was just built. It was trying to build it for casual gamers and core gamers. Like they tried to make this divide with like the features like that stupid Wii U chat. That is just the worst FaceTime feature. It's FaceTime. It's freaking FaceTime that they tried to copy from the Apple, a really crappy FaceTime. Like, why are you going to build something like that? Nintendo fans don't want to do Wii U chat, like off, no, not in the game, but off on your console in a separate app. That's so stupid. You should have put in cross-game chat. So that's what I'm saying. You build features for casuals. That is a casual feature that was meant to replicate FaceTime, and it failed spectacularly. Like Nintendo TV, stupid feature that they ended up just canceling. Like. That type of stuff.
Yeah, that was useless.
Yeah, useless features built for casuals instead of building features for core gamers. You got bodied because of it. So let's move on to the next question here. We've got PokeFan852 Gaming. Do you guys think the NX will be closer in power to PS4/Xbox One or Neo/Scorpio?
Boy.
I'm gonna say Neo. I don't know much about Scorpio other than what they said, like the rumors. But I'm going to go ahead and just say it's going to be more of a Neo than it is going to be PS4, Xbox One. But, I mean, at this point, it's so hard to tell because of all sorts of computing devices and things.
It's completely up in the air, but ideally, as Nintendo fans, even as a gaming fan in general, you don't want to see a Nintendo console drop like that. That's as powerful as an Xbox One and PS4 that released 4 years earlier. That just completely makes no sense to me. You're like, the Xbox and PS4 dropped a console with that power 4 years before this one. Why the heck would they do that? It has to be at least with the PS4 NEO and the Xbox One Scorpio power. Or honestly, I think Nintendo is like behind again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, sure. Oh, absolutely, definitely. I don't want to see NX be another underpowered system. As for where I think the power will be, at this point, it's anybody's guess. Ideally, however, I would like it to be somewhere in between Neo and Scorpio, so that at the very least it doesn't get left behind in the multi-plat support.
Yep, agreed. Although there is one thing to note, I'm pretty sure Neo, all games are going to be playable on PS4 as well. So it's one thing to note.
Yeah, because I remember Sony was kind of downplaying it. It wasn't anything special, just a marginal upgrade or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, they're downplaying because they don't want to piss off their fans.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
But they don't want to piss off their fans, but also because
developers to make it playable on both consoles. And honestly, developers, they already came out, they're not too like happy about that idea. But
I mean, I can see
what they want to do.
I can see why Sony's doing it. They're going to make money. I mean, it's going to be a money thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
you saw with your new 4K TVs, you know, things like
Yeah.
that. So, I mean, Sony made quite a bit of sales from the PS3 late by bundling it with their TVs and stuff like that. So I can see them doing that if they're going to remodel their TV business, which Kaz Hirai has been saying, we're going to remodel our TV business, but it's been taking him quite a while. That's why you ain't seen Kaz Hirai in a minute. That man is that man has to put out all them fires across Sony's other divisions, which he's actually doing a damn good job of, by the way, guys. He's actually doing a really good job of riding that ship. I mean, just because Sony was a tanking company, but they're looking a lot better these days. Let's go ahead and move on to the next question here. It comes from Ink Viper. Do you think it's time for change of management at NOA? With the perceived failure of them to obtain Western third-party support, lack of understanding who the audience is, and the recent censorship issues that have plagued their recent releases. I will talk about that, and I'm going to make this brief just so we can kind of get through some of the other questions here. I don't think it's time to fire them, but I definitely think it's time to take note. Like, it's time to take note, and this censorship stuff isn't helping them sell copies of games. It's not helping them in the PR. They should stop. I don't know why they're censoring their games. I don't know why they think it's okay to do so, but they really need to stop because it's not helping them sell Tokyo Mirage Sessions. I can tell you that right now. It's not helping. And these SJWs or anybody who would get upset with some of the stuff that's in the game, they're not buying Tokyo Mirage Sessions. They're not buying that game. So I think they should really they need to stop. That's a serious issue.
Well, of course. Why are you going to tailor your game to an audience who won't buy it anyway?
Exactly. So Nintendo just needs to. I think they need to take notice. I think if things don't work out this generation, I definitely think there needs to be some major changes if things don't work out this generation.
Mm-hmm.
Usman, do you have anything to add briefly?
Well, yeah, the same people who are like leading Nintendo right now, aren't they the same people, or at least some of them are the same people who made Nintendo consoles succeed in the past? So, I mean, they messed up once, I think, with this Wii U, and this should be, honestly, their last chance to kind of revive Nintendo as a company. And that's it. They did good in the past. They messed up here with the Wii U, and they obviously don't deserve to be fired just for one mishap, even though it was a pretty big one.
Agreed. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next question here. Let's see if we can get through as many of these as we can the next couple minutes. This comes from Harden25. What is up, Harden? We know Pikmin 4 is, in Miyamoto's words, nearly done. Do you believe it'll be a two-system release, the Wii U Swan Song, or Zelda NX Companion next March? I'm gonna go with the NX game at this point. What do you guys think?
I'm going with NX too. The Wii U's dying, man. Stop supporting it like that.
The Wii U's dead after Tokyo Mirage Sessions, basically. That system is dead after that game.
Yeah, I second Pikmin 4 being an NX title, because at this point, nothing's going to really do anything for Wii U. So better make Pikmin 4 NX title while you can. As for it being a launch title, I don't know. It might be a launch window title, but I really don't know. Again, it remains to be seen.
I don't know if you guys saw the sales results, but man, the Wii U sold like 29,000 units last month.
And that's absolutely heartbreaking and really...
That's horrible.
Oh my god, that is so bad. That is like really, even for a dying system, like that is so bad. Like I cannot fathom how bad that is. Even when like Twilight Princess was coming out and Pokémon Tournament was coming out, the Wii U sales were really bad then too. Like, oh my gosh, like the Wii U is selling so bad. Like it is such a, like, gosh, this is such a flop. Nintendo just needs to, that one hit me hard. Like I know that the Wii U isn't doing well, and I talk about, but man, when I saw that 28,000, I was like, Jesus, 28,000 for the month in North America. People have just said, I'm not buying Wii U now at this point because of NX. At this point, people are just either waiting for NX because 28,000 units is absolute pitiful.
I hope Nintendo got the message from that.
They better get the message, or I fear
They
for
better
them.
have gotten the message a while ago, man.
Yeah, I know. They should have got the message 3 years ago, bro. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to have another quick question here. Dragon Slayer Guts, will Miiverse make a return on NX? I'm going to say no.
I'm not really
Yeah,
sure.
I feel like it
either.
Usman?
I mean, I don't think the Nintendo NX has to have it. I don't think it's something that we need to see again on Nintendo. It's just kind of there on the Wii U, so.
Yeah, I have to think, like, when Nintendo was touting this Miiverse thing, I had to think Microsoft and Sony were like, what? Because, like, Microsoft and Sony integrated a Miiverse into their Dash. That's actually far better. Like, you can see what people are playing, what people are posting. You can see direct links to like people streaming the games. Like right then, you can watch it on your Dash basically. Like and it's basically like a Miiverse, but built into the actual OS of the system. You can see what people are liking. You can have communities like. And it's just right there, whereas Miiverse, it's like this app that loads up, you gotta wait. Like, Microsoft and Sony were, like, probably laughing their butts off when they saw Nintendo was touting Miiverse, 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 and when they actually saw it, they were just like, you gotta be kidding me. This is just like a side thing that we have. We didn't even have to advertise this, you know, so...
Do you think Miitomo might be a replacement for what Miiverse might be? For what Miiverse was?
I don't want to talk about Miitomo. That game's stupid.
Okay, never mind.
That app is dumb. I hope that's not a replacement for anything. I just hope that's a smartphone thing. Anyway, let's move on to the next question here. T-Dude asks, do you think the NX will have 4K streaming from YouTube and Netflix? Maybe.
Oh, boy.
I honestly think, yes, it will have 4K streaming for YouTube and Netflix. 4K video should be a given for a 2017 console like that. I mean, PlayStation's pushing 4K gaming, although it's not native. I just think 4K video should be a given at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I definitely hope it comes to pass, but at this point, I'm keeping my expectations very, very low. I don't want to be disappointed again.
Another question, which we kind of touched on. Do you think Nintendo will have more third-party support in making games for the NX? Yes, I do, because of the architecture. I think they will.
Well, for Japanese, sure, but for Westerns, I said this before, but I think Western third-party developers will be very, very difficult to court. I mean, I can see Nintendo NX potentially getting Final Fantasy 15, Kingdom Hearts 3, and Final Fantasy 7 Remake and Dragon Quest 11, and maybe the Resident Evil, but as far as Call of Duty, that's difficult to predict. And Grand Theft Auto, that would be a difficult thing to procure.
At the same time, I think they really lack that third-party support because of the Wii U's architecture was so far off from the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. Obviously, that made it more expensive for them to port games over. So if the Nintendo NX does go with that more modern architecture, I mean, nothing specific, but closer to that PS4 and Xbox One, I think third-party people might actually jump back on, especially if it's not going to be too expensive to port over like it was for the Wii U.
Well, of course. I mean, that was one of the biggest problems that people had with Wii U to begin with.
I feel like a lot of people are just thinking that the Wii U didn't sell well. That's why third-party people are moving away from it. I feel personally it's more because the architecture was so bad for the Wii U and for third-party developers to even take the time and especially money, man. It costs money to port games over. It's not just code it for this game. That costs money.
And a lot of people say, oh, well, if it's just like $1 million, whatever, or if it's $2 million support, whatever. But to a lot of companies, even if it's that, they make a lot, but they don't want to spend that money if they feel that there isn't anything like of substance that's going to come out of that. You have to remember, there's numerous different architectural problems with the Wii U compared to PS4.
Yeah, maybe just put that money elsewhere or save it or whatever.
Yeah, or make DLC. Like the problem also is like the Wii U doesn't come with a hard drive. That's the thing. A lot of these games are developed in the sense that you have to install the game. You don't do that on Wii U. You have to construct your game completely different because you can't worry about the install. You have to make the game to where you can't install it. And the problem that I have with Nintendo is because like when Nintendo needed something to where they needed to install, which is like Xenoblade Chronicles X, which yes you can play it without installs, but man the loading times. Think about
they were very long.
Think about The Witcher. Think about these other games that are graphically more graphically more intense, and they need that space. They need that. Nintendo was not considerate to these developers at all. Like they were not considerate to these developers. Everybody's not as. The thing that Nintendo needs to realize is that everybody's not as good as them when it comes to crafting games, when it comes to compression, when it comes to all that. These third-party developers are some of them are just not as good as Nintendo. People say that third-party developers need to shape up and be more like Nintendo. No, 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 no. Third-party developers are third-party developers. Yeah, exactly. Third-party developers, they do what they want to do. You can't sit here and force them to be more like you. No. If they're not going to be as good, if they're not as talented as you, then they're not as talented. Like, that's like sitting here telling like a football player, you should be more like Jerry Rice. What is he going to do? It's like, no, he's going to do the best.
Of course not. You shouldn't try to be something you're not. You should try to be yourself.
Exactly.
At that level, think of all the work that Mr. Igarashi is going through to put Bloodstained on the Wii U. I mean, that game runs Unreal Engine 4, and he's costing a lot more money to do it.
He's not doing that work, actually.
Right, I forgot. Armature is doing it.
Yeah, Armature is doing that. But what I'm trying to just say really is, like, you can't sit here and expect third parties to not operate the way third parties operate. If some of them, they have bugs in their games. Some of them, they can't be as good as Nintendo and make their games 5 gigs. They can't do that. They are who they are. They make mistakes. Nobody's perfect, and you can't sit here and tell them code for this system and make all these changes to your.
That's what exclusives are. That's why we have exclusives. You want this game to be, ideally for Nintendo. That's what an exclusive is for. Not for third-party people to switch up the way they program or the way they release things. We're developing for multiple people, not just Nintendo.
And by the way, Dragon Slayer Guts, I think we already discussed the thing about Western and Japanese. I don't think Nintendo should have too much trouble getting Japanese third-party support. It's the Western ones that I think they might be more difficult to court, so we can skip that one if we want.
Well, yeah, that's pretty much. We're going to wrap it up just because some of the other questions. It's going to take a while to kind of get through all of these here. So, if you guys for next time, we're going to have this probably next week as well. You guys can save some of these questions for then, and we'll definitely get to them. But like I said, I do want to make this podcast, make sure it's around an hour or so, nothing too long over that. So before we go, I want to have everyone give their outros as far as where they can find them. And Usman, you can put a link in the. I'll put a link in the description, but you can put a link in the chat of the video if you want to. But Usman, tell everybody what your channel is about and where they can find you.
Yeah, so guys, I obviously have my own channel, like OJ just mentioned. The name is Usman, U-S-M-A-N. He said he'll put the link in the description, so you guys can just click that. Over there, I talk about games just like how we talked here, but obviously it's just me, and it's in a video format. Talk about Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, basically anything that gets me pumped up. And yeah, you guys can just check it out.
I like Usman's format because he reminds me of Obi, which is Obi's one of my favorite YouTubers. But he reminds me of like a chill Obi.
Yeah, you're not the first person to say that. I am actually serious. Someone actually said that. They're like, I like the mellow tone to this. I was like, okay, nice. I'll take that.
And it's like the third-party developers. Some people like to do something some way. Some people like to do things other way. I like being subscribing to both of you guys because Ovi does things his one way and you do things your way, and that's cool. I like people that are unique. What I don't like is when you get a bunch of YouTubers trying to do the same thing over and over. So Usman's channel is very good. Make sure you check it out. Make sure you go subscribe.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, definitely. Just type it in. You'll see the channel there. And John, you have your own channel as well, but John's not necessarily a YouTuber, but you can let people know where to find you and give your outro if you want.
Yeah, sure. I mean, my content on my YouTube channel is nowhere nearly as frequent because I only on occasion upload videos. I'm not as frequent about it as you two are. But yeah, if you guys want to reach me, my YouTube channel video is this: TURNAJON. It's sort of like my last name, but with the last 2 letters if it's substituted for an A, and of course my first name after that.
All right, so that basically wraps it up for this one, guys. Thank you so much for coming out. We had a huge turnout, nearly, I think, 73 people at one point were watching, so a lot of good turnout for the show. I do appreciate it. If you're interested in any of the P Arena stuff, please check out the description. You'll see our Patreon page there. You can check that out. Join the Ultimate Gaming Network. John is a part of it. We got Nintendo Ultra. We got a couple other YouTubers as well. So check that out if you want to get into more of the gaming action. Because I know a lot of you guys have probably seen the live streams that we're doing. You want to know more about that, you can check it out yourself. I think we've built some of the best game nights that we've had. A lot of fun. A lot of it, the 3 core games that we have are ranked from Mario Kart 8. Yeah, Super Smash Bros, Splatoon. So if you're into that, you want to have a chance to win some prizes, you want to have basically be in like a pseudo esports league, check out the Patreon page for us, or you can just type it in on there. You'll see the PlayerEssence. You'll see it there. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We really do appreciate it. Hopefully, we can have Rob from Rule of 2 review for next week, and maybe we can have one of the users from the Patreon page because I sent him a link, but he didn't come in. Maybe he was busy. We probably might have Usman back, depending on what he's doing, and we might have John back. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you guys for the next one. Peace out.
Peace out,
Goodbye.
guys.